Tiebacks are a very important part of your paragraph. This is the part where you explain your evidence. So in your tiebacks, they come right immediately after your evidence. This is the part where you want to explain how and or why your evidence proves your point. In this part, you don't need to summarize your evidence. You don't have to tell me what your evidence just said. We assume that whoever is reading your paper can read well enough that they would understand what your evidence says, but they need you to walk them through how that evidence actually proves what you're trying to say. This should be the longest part of your paragraph, so if you only have one sentence here, it's probably not going to be enough to really completely convince your reader and explain to them. Remember when you're writing your tiebacks that your reader may not think exactly the same way you do. There's a thought process you are going through that the reader might not necessarily be going through as well. So you need to make sure that you walk them through your thought process. Don't assume ever that your reader is going to think exactly the same way that you do. You need to tell them how to think or what they should be thinking of. If you don't have a tieback, you are making your audience do all of the hard work, and that is not their job. Their job is to take in your argument, listen to it, and make a decision if they agree with you or not. Your job is to tell them your argument and tell them in a clear way so that they can understand and so that they have all the information they need so that they can make an evaluation of whether or not they agree with you. If you don't have a tieback, you're not really telling them what to think, which as a writer is kind of your job. You are writing so that you can spread your message, so that you can spread your ideas. So if you don't have a good tieback, then you're not actually telling them what to think. When you do that, when you don't have a good tieback, you are giving up your control. You get to be in control with your paper. You get to tell your audience what you think and what you think they should think. And if you don't have that, then you're giving up that control. And like I said, your audience might not come to the same conclusion as you. The other people who are reading your paper may not be the same age as you. They may not be the same race. They may not be the same gender. They may have different experiences than you. So the way that they read a piece of evidence, they might interpret that in a completely different way than what you do. So you need to make sure that you are interpreting it for them. Explain your interpretation. Explain why you think the way you do. Let's look at an example. So this first one is about school uniforms. So our thesis that we were working with is school uniforms should be mandatory to help students be more productive. We start with our evidence then. We skip the topic sentence in the setup and we go straight to the evidence here for this example. So it says, according to a 2013 study, researchers found that students who wear uniforms to school saw a decrease in tardiness and an increase in academic focus. Notice that there is a citation there. Spending less time choosing attire and admiring or criticizing others' clothing choices makes it much easier for students to get to class on time and focus on their classes. Tardiness is less likely when students are required to wear uniforms. All of this leads to more productive students. Is this a well done tieback or not so much? This is okay. It's not amazing. They didn't really get into explaining things super well. And their tieback is a little obvious. They probably could have taken this in a much deeper way, but it's okay. Our next one. Binge watching a series is extremely harmful to a person's health. Once again, we go to our evidence right away. When binge watching your favorite show, your brain is continually producing dopamine and your body experiences a drug-like high. This becomes harmful after the show is over. Suddenly, viewers are left without the dopamine high and are left to feel depressed, lost, and listless. Dealing with loss of euphoric feelings gained from a show can take a real mental toll and impacts the viewer's health negatively. Is this one well done or not so much? This one is better than the first one. So this one goes into a little more explanation of how and why their evidence proves their thesis. It's directly connected to the thesis statement, which is also a plus, because the whole point of a tieback is to explain how the evidence proves your thesis.